Good afternoon. Thank you, Bob, for the beautiful music today. My name is Kate Lovelady, and it is my privilege to lead the Ethical Society of St. Louis, where Christine Floss has been an active, valuable, and very beloved member for 10 years. We are here today to honor the life of Christine, to say goodbye to her physical presence in our lives, and to share some of what we will always carry with us from knowing her. Christine's death came unexpectedly in the prime of a life that was vibrant and forward-looking. We know that death comes to all, but losing someone suddenly always seems particularly tragic. Yet Christine, as a scientist and a lover of the outdoors, understood and accepted death as part of the natural processes of life. She also showed in her work and her relationships that though we are mortal, we can still embrace the adventure of life, pursuing knowledge, easing suffering, and making life good and caring. So faced with her loss, in turn, we care for each other. Just being together in the past week and today and in the days to come, looking into each other's faces, sharing hugs, sharing words, near or far, however inadequate those words often seem. This all begins the process of healing our grief. Many look upon death as the great mystery. But the wonder may not be that death comes, but that life exists at all. Christine studied meteorites and was part of the search for knowledge about the creation of nebula and a lot of things that I don't understand. The greatest wonder is that over unimaginable eons, stars and planets have formed and birthed life that evolved into people who learn and grow and love and lose and grieve and continue to love. So we grieve for the loss of Christine from our lives, and we celebrate the fact that she lived and the influence that her life and work and love will continue to have in our lives and on into the future. I was honored to perform the memorial of Christine's husband, Frank, 8 years ago here. And I would like to share an ethical culture memorial reading that I shared then by ethical leader Algernon Black. When we think about our own death, we might think of 3 wishes, and we may guess that the one we have loved might have had these same wishes too. First, we would wish that those we love, those close in family and friendship, our neighbors and colleagues, should understand what we lived for, our values and intentions, what we meant by our life at its best, seeing our faults and mistakes with understanding and generosity. Second, we would wish that our life had made a difference, that because of us, the world might be a bit different and a better place for people, with some lessening of fear and hate, some increment of good in humanity's struggle for a better life. Third, we would wish that those we love should not be confused or lost or depressed, unable to face the years ahead. Rather, we would wish them the courage and faith to face the future with a clear sense of direction and concern for each other. For our life is tested in death by the way we prepared our loved ones to live without us, free and strong to make a life when we are no longer there beside them. If Christine had such wishes, I believe that they were fulfilled. For she leaves behind work that has helped increase the knowledge of humanity, and she leaves behind children and grandchildren and family and friends and colleagues, on all of whom she left an indelible impression, and who will carry on some of what was best in her. Christine was, among many things, a very humble person. She would probably have been surprised at how many people are here, although none of us are surprised. And she definitely would have been appalled that we would spend an afternoon talking about how wonderful she was. But we are going to do that anyway. We'll start by hearing about Christine's life from a few of those close to her. We'll begin with her brothers, Peter and Helmut, followed by her formal doctoral student, Jobin Lewis, and then one of her many friends at the Ethical Society, Crystal White. And after these speakers and a musical selection, there will be an open speaking period for anyone to share thoughts and memories of Christine. So, Peter and Helmut.
So for my family, thank you very much all for attending. Christina was a creative, compassionate, and complex human being. Endlessly imaginative, she regularly engaged the world in unique and endearing ways. She was also a constant source of humanitarian activities, often helping others even in the midst of her own personal struggles. Christina was born in Munich, Germany in 1961 and was fawned over by her grandparents as she was the first child of her parents who were both only children themselves. She gave herself the name Nina as a toddler, based upon a story read to her frequently by her mother, and that is what we continue to call her to this day. In 1966, her parents immigrated to the U.S. when her father got a professorship at Purdue University. As a child, Nina had a challenging start, being thrown into an American kindergarten, shy and without any knowledge of English. Yet she then helped her siblings learn to read and write, always being patient and encouraging. During high school, her creative mind and quirkiness were found in her writing of silly poems or her attempt to write the longest sentence imaginable. Anyone receiving a present from Nina could always expect something uniquely thought out for that person, and often so thoroughly packaged and taped as to make it as hard as possible to open. She also had a knack for finding random and unexpected items to give her family, and such as a life-size cardboard image of Worf from the show Star Trek, so much so that the gifts often required an explanation. This is the kind of quirky humor that Nina was known for and made her so much of a joy.
After graduating from West Lafayette High School in 1979, she attended Purdue University, majoring in foreign languages for lack of an overriding interest. She discovered her passion for geology during this time, taking a second bachelor's degree in that subject. She did this in the midst of having her first two children, Alicia and Ashley, and remarkably was able to graduate with her degree in geology from Indiana University in 1987. This is a testament to her organizational abilities and her dedication to both career and family. She then moved to the McDonnell Center for Space Sciences, where she was able to do her graduate work in 4 years while raising 2 kids, obtaining her PhD degree in 1991. She was fortunate to have an ideal PhD advisor, Elaine Crozaz, who became a lifelong friend. Also into this time period fell the most important event of her life. She found the love of her life, Frank Stotterman, a German physicist who was doing PhD work in the same laboratory. After finishing their PhDs, they worked for 5 years in Germany, and she had her third child, Amanda. Their marriage epitomized the definition of the term soulmate. They were both each other's best friend and closest scientific collaborator. Frank shared Nina's sense of humor and propensity for the out of the ordinary, which led to a life filled with everything from adventures like skydiving and flying lessons to humorous pranks such as turning her children into a bathtub ice cream sundae with each child standing in as a scoop of ice cream. They were masters at setting up scavenger hunts for all the Floss kids during family holidays.
Both Christina and Frank then accepted research positions at WashU and, in a very fruitful collaboration, continued the prominent research program of the Space Sciences Center. Tragedy struck when Frank unexpectedly passed away in 2010, but Nina soldiered on even as she battled severe depression due to the loss. She and Frank had long been active in work to help those less fortunate, volunteering, for example, for Habitat for Humanity. After his passing, philanthropic work and involvement with the Ethical Society became an increasing focus of her life. Numerous visits to Haiti, working with Friends of the Children of Haiti, gave her particular satisfaction, so much so that she considered getting an associate nursing degree in order to broaden her ability to provide medical assistance to those in need.
Her love of travel continued despite losing her companion, and she completed her goal of setting foot on all continents of the world when she traveled to Antarctica in 2015 to collect meteorites. Christina was a deeply caring and brilliant woman, and it is a tragedy that she was an unexpected and accidental victim of the opioid crisis. So much of Christina's life was dedicated to helping others that the family would like to take this moment to urge anyone who might need help to reach out and talk to someone, call a hotline, or visit the website listed in your program. Nina will be deeply missed by our family, but we take solace in knowing she is at peace. Her legacy lives on with the asteroid 6689 named Floss and her beautiful children and grandchildren. This short poem was chosen by her daughter, Alicia, and I think it accurately describes the way a lot of us are feeling right now. It's called Wade by Bill Knott. Always jumping from one pan of the scale to the other, always trying to measure your absence.
Hello. Christine contributed more to my development as a scientist than anyone else. More than this, she created stability for me in a long, uncertain season of my life. I'm grateful for the chance to be here as one of many voices from Christine's scientific community to celebrate her life alongside her family. I met Christine in 2011. I was in my first year of graduate school and was considering joining the fourth floor group. She and Ernst Zinner sat with me in the lunchroom and sketched out a couple of research ideas. They described the study of presolar nanodiamonds using atom probe tomography, work that was pioneered by Frank Stotterman, who I missed meeting by just a few months. I would work with Christine from that time until last week. Many here today worked with her longer. I wish I could have. Those of us who are Christine's students share a deep appreciation for her open office door. Christine always made time to talk and reminded us she was happy to do so. We talked about research, conferences, grants, passport and visa problems, work-life balance, society, family, vacations, how to make life decisions, how hard it is to write a dissertation, how discouraging graduate school can be, everything. Christine was the opposite of the horror stories one sometimes hears about advisors not reading manuscripts for months, sometimes years. Instead, when we talked about it in the grad student office, it was awe in our voices over how uncannily fast Christine would review scientific writing. I had the bad habit of sending her drafts of my work on Friday afternoons. She often returned it to me by midday Saturday, always with cogent, level observations and lots of improvements. To give a few examples of Christine's accomplishments as a mentor, under her mentorship, all of her graduate students were awarded NASA's highly selective Earth and Space Sciences Fellowship. In 2015, Christine was the first research professor to receive the Outstanding Faculty Mentor Award from Washington University. This is in spite of the fact that Christine did not teach formally, nor was she expected to mentor graduate students. Christine was a quiet leader. Progressively, as more senior members disappeared from the scene, Christine took on additional responsibilities in the fourth floor group. She managed funds and grants, dealt with politics and administration, managed lab equipment, took on leadership roles on diversity and women in science, and watched out for the well-being of fourth floor personnel, all while maintaining a high level of productive, cutting-edge research. I found it hard to notice she was doing so much because she did it so quietly and so well and was never too busy to talk. Once Christine and I talked about walking into work through the intersection of Skinker Boulevard and Forest Park Parkway. There are regularly homeless people there asking for help. I explained how my physicist's mind tried to grapple with the data about whether or not giving money is statistically more likely to help or hurt the person I gave to and wanting to optimize the use of my limited resources. Christine said, "I just give. I don't want to judge them." That story is one example of Christine's compassionate instincts. She acted on those instincts. She coupled her compassion with quiet perseverance, even in the face of tragedy and crises. She was the person I wanted to talk to when I didn't know what to do. I would walk through Christine's office door. She would look up from her desk and listen. Then she would say something to make sure I knew she understood and was with me. She stayed calm and reasonable, and she helped when she could, even when it cost her deeply to do so. Most of us have stories of Christine going to tremendous lengths to care for her friends and family when they needed help. Helping was her default. 2 Fridays ago, Christine was fixing the nanosens while I took notes. I shared with her my struggles as I considered next steps in my career. Christine, as always, reminded me that I should do what was best for me, reminded me of my strengths, and reminded me how valued I was. As I move into the future with grief and hope, I want to emulate Christine as a scientist and as a person who valued people. Christine loved the fourth floor. She loved her research, but she never confused those things with the people who comprised her scientific community, and she cared about us more than about the work. I will always celebrate that about my mentor and friend.
Hello, my name is Crystal White, and I am absolutely bereft to stand here today to share all the ways I admired Christine Floss, how she inspired me and touched my life, and realized that I didn't fully articulate to her how much she meant to me when she was alive. So, thank you for allowing me to stand here and pay tribute to such a beautiful individual and friend. Christine personified kindness, empathy, humility, and generosity. She was wicked bright, quick to problem solve, matter of fact and direct, while also being gentle, considerate, and thoughtful. She found such joy in her family and in her service and in her travels. She worried a lot, was lonely sometimes, and sad, and she tried to shield the rest of us from how she was feeling when she was down. I wish that this superhuman person had asked for more help, and that I, as her friend, had done a better job of really asking how she was. Christine intensely focused on individuals and relationships. She demonstrated full respect by honoring the time together, being fully present, listening deeply, pausing and responding thoughtfully, offering compassion and insight. A self-described introvert, she still said yes each time she was invited out. She was looking out for us. She wanted to know how we were doing, how she could help. Always, always how she could help. If she knew you, then she cared about you. And if she cared about you, then she would do anything for you. And in this way, she lived her life fully and with no half measures. Her connections and relationships were deep and heartfelt, and the crowd here today is a real testament to the love that she gave freely to others. Christine fully lived the motto of deed before creed. She talked the talk and walked the walk of ethical living. Her reflective, thoughtful, and empathetic nature shone through in every interaction. She put her ethics in action through service to the community, and she modeled how to say yes, enthusiastically yes, to every opportunity. Because, let's be honest here, there wasn't anything that Christine said no to. She always said yes. She always found space in her heart for more people. She always found time to take on new leadership roles. And as a result, Christine was involved in so much here at the Ethical Society. So it's a partial list. There's not enough time to do it all. But she served on the Ethical Action Committee and the Governance Task Force and the Development and Legacy teams and the Concordance Academy team and the Diversity Task Force and the Highway Cleanup with Frank for 10 years and Sunday ushering. She gave 2 platform talks, even though she hated to talk publicly and she hated getting dressed up to do it. And she served on the board of trustees as president and vice president and secretary, a total of 8 years in all. I always wanted Christine to be on my team. She valued giving back. She deeply cared about the community. She acted with real intention and commitment. She was so incredibly capable. Each of the groups benefited from her expertise and leadership. If Christine saw a need, she decided to meet that need, regardless of the personal cost to herself. She also was a philanthropist. She knew that where she spent her money was a demonstration of her love, and she challenged each of us to give more to the organizations that mattered to us individually. She wished to help children and to end worldwide poverty. I remember when she stood at this very podium and shared that she gave away 10% of her income each year to anti-poverty efforts, and that she was contributing to other nonprofit organizations on top of that amount. And there was this audible gasp, sort of wow response from the crowd, as we all marveled at how she intentionally put her values into action, how selfless and generous she was, how her inner character shone so brightly. That passion transferred to FACO, the Friends and Children of Haiti. She actively fundraised for them by organizing trivia nights, and she devoted time to volunteer in Haiti herself multiple times. FACO was one of her many joys, and she was so humble about her work. She was recognized as a top volunteer by FACO, and she never said anything about it, nor did she desire recognition for her service here at the Society. Christine used physical mementos to capture the emotions and experiences of her life. Did any of you ever ride in her car? She kept this little stuffed bunny in her cup holder. Did you see this? And it was like this permanent ride-along friend and the source of laughter for her. And each of her tattoos had a story. Love for her husband, processing through grief, the importance of moving forward in life, her mental health struggles, and her connection with her daughters. 8 years ago, she lost her beloved husband, Frank, and she credited the Ethical Society community for getting her through, for helping her navigate a path through her sadness, her loneliness, and her pain. And I know we all will be depending on each other to help navigate our own paths through the sadness, horror, shock, and pain of her tragic death. And her life can be a real model for that. How to live and love deeply, how to give continuously, and how to trust, build, and sustain community. My life was better because of Christine. All of our lives were better. And I'm gonna miss her terribly. I'm so sorry that I was the one to cry. Up here. Thank you. Oh, gosh.
Thank you all so much. We will now have a period of music and reflection. Christine and Frank's wedding song was You Bring Me Joy, which will be played. with some more pictures. And following the music, I will invite those of you who would like to share to come forward. So for the community sharing, what I'd like to do is ask anyone who would like to speak to come forward at any time during this period and sit in the front row so that I have an idea of how many people and what order. And family members can come up anytime that they feel so moved. And I know we have someone we're going to start with.
So I'm Mark Alford. I'm chair of the physics department at Washington University. Christine was deeply rooted in the physics department, but she was an exceptional member of the department in many ways. One advantage she had over the rest of us was that her degrees were in everything except physics. As you've already heard, she had a degree in German from Purdue, 1983, geology from Indiana University, 1987. And when she came to Washington University to do her PhD, it was in geochemistry under Ghislaine Crozaz. And as you heard, she got her PhD from WashU in 1991, went to Germany for 5 years, and then came back in 1996 as a research scientist with Frank Stademann. And they embarked on the research program that led to her becoming one of the most successful and of significance to chairs and deans, one of the best funded faculty members in the department. So Christine described her own research as astronomy with a microscope. She wanted to know what was going on in the formation of the solar system as it condensed out of clouds of interstellar dust into the form that we know today, with sun in the middle and planets and asteroids around it. And one thing that fascinated her in recent years was meteoritic nanodiamonds. I think you heard them mentioned by Josiah. Tiny chunks of diamond found embedded in meteorites. No one knows where they come from. Were they made in the sun? Did they already exist in the pre-existing cloud of primordial dust? And right up until last week, Christine was actively working on this question, using techniques that she had developed for analyzing such tiny specks of matter. This was part of her trajectory at WashU that marked her out as such a successful scientist. She got promoted senior research scientist, research associate professor, research full professor. She was an innovator, a discoverer, an inspiration to all of us in the department. She was a thoughtful, kind, and talented colleague whose role expanded well beyond her research. In recent years, there was growing concern about the diversity of the physics department, particularly the lack of gender balance among the faculty. And Christine, as one of the few female research professors, played a unique role in the department, ensuring that the male faculty took this issue seriously. When we formed a departmental diversity committee, Christine agreed to be its first chair. She also helped us in the successful effort to recruit 2 female nuclear theorists this spring. So last year, we started talking to her about her becoming a tenured full professor so that she could become involved in teaching and in service such as outreach, as well as in research, which is what she was restricted to in her role as a research professor. And I had many conversations with her, and she was very excited about opening this new chapter. We just started building her promotion dossier, which we were going to send out this week to external referees as part of the university's promotion process. For that dossier, Christine wrote a statement on teaching, and I want to share part of it to let her speak to us today and remind us why she was such a cherished member of our department. So here is Christine. Unlike many scientists, growing up I had no particularly strong interest in science. I was a passionate reader, and for many years I couldn't envision a better career than being a librarian, surrounded by books all day. That changed when I went to college and, to fulfill a basic science requirement, took an introductory geology class. The female TA for the lab displayed such enthusiasm for teaching us about rocks and minerals that I was completely won over and declared a major in geology. The importance of this woman's enthusiasm in my life has stayed with me over the years. I've been fortunate as a research professor to be able to mentor a number of highly talented graduate and undergraduate students. I believe that enthusiasm and love of learning is a two-way street. I have learned much from my students, not just about how to be a successful mentor, but also about retaining the joy and excitement of discovery that led me into this field in the first place. I strive to maintain an open door policy, encouraging my students to come to me whenever they have questions or need help. At one point, I had simultaneously 2 students who were interaction intensive, and they joked they were going to put a bench outside my office so one would have a place to sit and wait while the other one was finished with the question of the moment. As a teacher, I hope to communicate to my students the same enthusiasm and joy of learning that I received from my geology TA so many years ago, and that I still feel today when I contemplate how fortunate I am to be paid to learn about the workings of the solar system and universe. So the physics department was Christine's professional home for 3 decades. We are her acquaintances, her friends, and her colleagues. We come from varied cultural and religious backgrounds. We have different ways of understanding the unbroken presence of our departed loved ones. As you've seen in your program, it's particularly meaningful to me that in 2006, asteroid 6689 was named Floss in honor of Christine by the International Astronomical Union. For as long as there are people looking up in wonder at the night sky, and probably for much longer, asteroid Floss will be gliding through the solar system, carrying its secrets of nanodiamonds and dust grains that are older than the sun, and along with them, the memory of Christine Floss, our colleague and our friend.
Hello, I'm Laurie Fields. Christine and I joined the Ethical Society at nearly the same time, but we knew each other a bit longer than that. I believe our first encounter was at our neighborhood pool, watching our daughters practice for their swim team. Over the years, our families encountered each other through many of the groups and activities that Amanda and Sherilyn were part of. Our daughter's friendship resulting in our friendship. Here at the Society, we worked together on several projects and committees. In my experience, she was completely devoted, committed, and ever present with every effort she was involved in. Christine always had this big, warm smile. It was very welcoming everywhere she went. I truly don't remember her other than smiling. She had many travel adventures and works of service locally and far away. Christine kept a very full schedule. And I'll never forget the smoothness of her voice and her calm demeanor through it all. This was remarkable in my eyes. I found it amazing that with this busy pace that she maintained, she would still read many books. And there was always a major jigsaw puzzle in progress on a table somewhere in her house. Her having died seems surreal. The world seems a different place now that she's gone. We will miss Christine very much.
Well, before she came to you all, and before she became a loving mother and wife and met the love of her life, and I met the love of my life, Christine was my best friend. My name's Alice Jones, and we met our sophomore year in high school. Christine, the painfully shy one who often sought respite in the comfort of her books, fiction, philosophy, metaphysics, classic literature, Grey's Anatomy, it didn't matter. Me, the overweight one who took cover in choir and theater where I could put on the medal of a life that wasn't my own. But somehow we found each other there in West Lafayette, Indiana, and we became best friends at that time in one's life when the idea of best friends really matters a lot. We helped each other survive that age of swirling teenage insecurity and hormones and unsure identity through the excruciating adolescent hyper-awareness of physical and social imperfections. We were there for each other through crushing self-doubt, the moody, I'm so misunderstood, what's the meaning of life, what the hell am I going to do when I grow up, period. So a few stories. She introduced me to Pete Seeger. She was a big fan. We went to a concert together at Purdue University, and afterwards I, being the bold one, dragged her to the stage to meet him and have the poster that she had brought with her signed. As I grabbed her arm and I shoved through the crowd, she pulled away, beat me with that roll-up poster, and called me a bossy bulldozer. God, she was so pissed at me. But I gripped her arm and I pushed through the crowd anyway until we were face to face with them. And then I said something like, can you please sign her poster, please? And he reached out and he took it from her and smiled and spoke in that oh so soothing voice. And I think she eventually forgave me. It was about that time, too, there was a story of the purple yarn ball. I don't even think you all may know about the purple yarn ball. Started innocently enough, a couple of skeins intentionally intended for some craft project that then was abandoned. And we rolled it into a ball. Then a conversation in which the ball looked awfully tiny, which led to buying more yarn and growing the ball, which escalated into picking up another skein of purple yarn every time one of us went to Kmart. And so over the course of about 5 months, we came to be in the possession of a big purple ball of yarn bigger than a basketball. Now, from experience, I can tell you that a ball of yarn bigger than a basketball contains about 16 skeins at 300 yards each, or a little bit more than 3 miles of yarn. And it was with that 3-mile ball of yarn that we committed our one act of collaborative public art or pure adolescent vandalism, depending on your perspective. One early spring day, we set our alarms for 4 o'clock in the morning, dressed all in black, you know, with hats and everything. I mean, we were Mission Impossible, and drove in her little blue VW, which for only reasons that high school adolescent girls know, we called the little red car. But we drove the little red car down to the Purdue campus, which at the time was bordered by a decorative wrought iron fence with pillars about 4 feet apart. And starting somewhere on Northwestern Avenue, we proceeded to tie that string of purple yarn from pillar to pillar around the border of campus. We giggled as we worked and took turns inventing headlines for the TV and radio news stories that would inevitably arise from our work. Purdue campus festooned with color by mysterious spring weavers. It's a spring fling string thing. When the rare vehicle would drive by, we'd do our best to conceal ourselves behind bushes or next to buildings. But then somewhere along State Street, as we'd made our way, I did the talking, of course, explaining that we were just curious about how long a 3-mile ball of yarn would go around the perimeter of the university. It was a science experiment. There was endless, uncomfortable silence as the officer sternly stood with arms crossed, eyes glancing back and forth between me and Christine, who was soberly standing next to the closest yarn-draped fence post holding the evidence, diminished at this point to the size of a good head of purple cabbage. And then, in that still of the pre-dawn, he just shook his head and cracked a smile and said, I didn't see nothing, girls. You just promised you'll be gone by sunrise when I get off my shift. Christine was the one who rode shotgun with me when I strapped all of my belongings to the top of my car and moved to Austin, Texas. I was the one who stood with her as a witness for her Mormon laying on of hands and prophecy ceremony. She was my maid of honor in an off-the-rack prom dress purchased at Dillard's just a few days before, because we didn't know if Ashley would arrive before or afterwards, and we didn't know what size she was going to be. When she moved to Germany, an email was really sort of a new thing. I can remember using the university's mainframe to answer emails from halfway around the world. Over the years, our lives separated further and further, but we'd still get together every now and then, sometimes even after years apart, here in St. Louis, when Amanda eyed me with the suspicion of a jealous toddler. Indianapolis, when our good friend Jim came out to us at the age of 50, and we just rolled our eyes and said, yeah, we know. In Lexington, when she came to see me star as a 50-year-old ingenue in a small town opera. In Memphis, when we watched street acrobats on Beale Street, ate barbecue, and then rode in a fairy tale Castle Cinderella twinkle-like carriage around the park. And back in August, when we gathered down in Union, just south of here, for the total eclipse. Whenever we did come together, the conversation would always pick up right where it left off. No uncomfortable silence, no awkward small talk. Just two old friends. Best friends from way back when and forever.
So I'm Brendan Haas. I'm a graduate student, and I worked with Christine for nearly 4 years, so I won't speak for long, but I just wanted to say one thing that struck me about Christine was how nice and kind-hearted she was. She was a lot nicer than she had to be. I remember the first time I sent her a draft of a conference abstract, my first one, and I sent it off to her, and she sent it back, and I remember the email said, good work, I just attached a few edits, and I opened it up and was immediately met by a barrage of red, entire paragraphs crossed off and replaced, and I remember thinking, like, I don't know what you thought was nice about it, but I'm glad you were able to give it to me gently. And something else I also really liked about Christine was how much faith and trust she had in her students. If there was ever a hiccup in an experiment, I never felt like I had to go running down the hall at full speed to get her advice. I felt like she always respected my judgment and my ability as a scientist, and that always made me feel a little bit better about coming into lab every day. So I'm sure all of us who've worked with her will miss her dearly as a colleague, but also as a friend.
I'm Joe Corrigan, a member here at the Ethical Society. Like many of you here, Christine was a dear friend of mine. We met as members of the Ethical Society in 2010, and we intersected in the last few years in two areas, biking and the Legacy Friends group here at the Ethical Society. That's for people that leave something in their estate plan for us. So we had a bike ride this past Saturday, and we were leaving from my apartment to bike to Forest Park. And we were going to pick up Christine at her home on Lindell along the way. We did go by there Saturday and dropped off flowers and a card and had a moment of silence. She loved all the rides that we went on, that she went on, and volunteered to lead the June ride on the Riverfront Trail. So we'll have a memorial ride there later in the season in her honor. In the area of legacy, back in 2010, she and her husband Frank came to a legacy party. It was a Friday night, and we have great pictures of them together. 2 days later, on a Sunday, Frank died of an aneurysm. A shocking loss for Christine, Amanda, and our community. Within a year or so of this tragic loss, Christine became very involved in the society and eventually volunteered to take over as the chairperson of the Legacy Committee. After Frank's death, she redid her estate plan and was passionate about promoting legacy gifts to our home here. The Legacy Committee will miss her great leadership and also organizational talents for our annual dinner and lunch. When I think of what Christine's legacy will be to me, it would be to grieve her loss for a while, but then to get back in the arena of life, like she did after her husband's death in 2010, and volunteer and pitch in wherever there is a need, like in Haiti. So thanks for the lessons of your life, sweet Christine.
I'm Maitri Bose, a graduate, actually Christine and Frank's first graduate student at WashU. I'll try to read it so that I don't get emotional. But so I spent 6.5 years working with her one-to-one, and with her untimely death, I've not just lost a mentor, but a very dear friend. She played an influential role in my life. She taught me to think, read, write like a scientist. She taught me how to investigate an idea step by step. My first impression of her when I joined WashU as a graduate student was that of a successful career woman who focused her energy and time into her research and who was also enjoying her family life. So she was a real role model to me. She would be in school at 7:30 a.m. sharp, and would leave at 4 p.m. to basically pick up Amanda. But in those 8 hours at work, she would be busy all the time. I rarely saw her talk to coworkers in the corridors, which gave me the impression that she was an introvert, a serious scientist. In fact, I recall that the only times she visited the kitchen on the 4th floor of the physics department was to get cookies and other goodies during our regular potluck. Anyway, so I was intimidated by her presence in my initial PhD years. But as I got to know her, I realized that she loved to talk and listen to people. Like so many people said earlier before me that she had an open door policy, she did. And later when I realized that, I used to go talk to her every day, every couple of hours sometimes, even when I had no results to talk about. But she never asked me to leave or said that she was busy. We would talk about all sorts of things, from food recipes and baking, since she liked to bake, books that we were reading, to travel plans. And during one such conversation, she told me about her geology professor, Dr. Abhijit Basu at Indiana University, who influenced her to study geology and set her on a course to study meteoritic materials. Christine was not only a good listener, but extremely witty and extremely observant of fine details. Because I was Christine's first grad student, I saw her interaction with Frank quite closely. Their smiles when they talked to each other or they looked at each other revealed the love and the affection and respect they had for each other. I saw that in group meetings. It was hilarious, wonderful, and heartwarming to listen to them bicker during a group meeting over which colors should be used in the plots in my abstract, or to fight over grammatically incorrect sentences in my manuscript. At the end of our meetings with such comical discussions, Christine always pointed out that the work is mine and should have my approval no matter what. She always encouraged me to present my research at meetings with varied and multidisciplinary audiences and paid for it too. After I graduated, we kept in touch and met at meetings when she told me several times how she was happy and proud to see the progress I had made. During our recent conversations, I realized how she had become the pillar of strength for the 4th floor after the deaths of first Frank and then Ernst Zinner. She continued with her diverse research and aided her co-workers and students cope emotionally. In addition, she started to volunteer for Friends of the Children of Haiti, as a lot of you know, for which she made several month-long trips to Haiti. She felt a unique sense of purpose and satisfaction in these endeavors, and was even considering getting a nursing diploma to better help with medical issues. The last time we met, when she was driving back from Tucson after seeing Amanda, she was so upbeat about her future. And in fact, just last week, we were discussing proposal ideas and timelines. So the news of her death stunned me. She's gone now. I don't know where. I am distraught by this untimely event, but I'm certain of two things. First, that all her research accomplishments will be remembered by the community, and that she is happy and content to be with Frank now. Thank you. One other thing I forgot to read out was I got in touch with Dr. Bijit Basu, his mentor, and so he wrote something in an email that I want to just read out. So he says, Christine had a genuinely pleasant demeanor. She developed strong determination at an early age, which carried her through many struggles. Her life is an inspiration for all men and women, especially the latter. It was a privilege to know her. Thank you.
One memory that I wanted to share about Christine was when I first joined the fourth floor was the trust and freedom and respect that she gave to all her students, all of us, whatever background we had, whether we were physicists, geologists. When I first came, she would just give me all the grant that she had at the time, ask me to read it, and let me just create my own program, and decided I could work on anything that was remotely related to anything she got funding for. And interestingly was, she never considered us as a student. She hated when she was seen as a boss. And we used to joke about it because she would never ask us to do anything. She would always suggest, and she would always come to us and suggest us to do stuff. And when I would joke to her that she's my boss, so I would do it anyway, but she hated the idea because she always considered us collaborator and as colleague, and that we were more than just students to her. And as Mark Harford said, Jobin and I, during our first year of PhD, used to fight every day to have time to go talk to her, because it was so valuable to get to interact with her, to go talk, whether it was talking about our life, visa issue, traveling, future plans for traveling, family, about kids and family, but also about work, so we could go and ask us any question, whatever the time was, although we'd always be open. And we used to joke about installing 2 chairs in front of our office because it was so annoying walking back and forth from our office in the hallway to go check if someone else was talking to her. So we almost planned to put chairs in front of her office, but she always refused that she ended up like a medical office. So we never ended up doing it. And she, even when after I left, Jobin mentioned how quickly she was at responding and sending feedback for papers, and it was incredible. It even became a joke at the end with her, between her and our student, where because at the end of my PhD, I will send a draft of chapters, and she will, just before lunch, hoping that I will be done for a few days, and I would never have to look at it for this next few days. And then just after lunch, I will have an email from her with comments. And I will walk to her office and almost be mad at her that she didn't even give me a break to leave me time to. And since now I moved to Arizona, she always made a point to try to send me comments and be the first one. And she would even ask me in the email if she managed to be the first one sending me comments back, because it became the joke between us of how quickly she would give feedbacks and how valuable all her feedback was. And through the years now that I'm not in the fourth floor anymore, she always took the time to send me emails regularly to check that I was okay, making sure that I could collaborate with her, and I was always welcome to come back to the fourth floor and do any work I wanted with her. So she will always be missed, and she was more than an advisor for me. She was really a model of excellence in science and how we should be all carrying science, and she will always be a friend. Thank you.
I have a final thing that I was asked to read. This is, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. This was by Cheryl Thomas, a friend of hers. She said, Christine was my friend and I'm going to miss her deeply. Everyone knows her intellectual accomplishments, her adventuresome curiosity, and her loving, charitable soul in some way or another. Her exploratory nature took her from sci-fi and fantasy books to living on the ice in Antarctica and visiting the Penis Museum in Iceland. I didn't hear about that. In our final dinner 2 weeks ago, she was really happy. She had just come back from a visit with her parents, and she said it was so special because she got to spend some time with them alone, and that was a really big, meaningful treat for her. She was also happy that she was about to go back to Haiti for her volunteer work. Christine could never say no to anyone or any organization that needed help. I had surgery in the last 2 weeks, and I have a very beautiful bouquet of flowers that Christine sent to me sitting on my table at home. I will preserve a flower and remember her the rest of my days. On behalf of a very small, intimate group of women who call ourselves Gal Pals, we are devastated by our loss of Christine. We meet every month for brunch, and Christine was with us whenever she was in town and able over the past 8 years. I always say that I love my Gal Pals, and I hope that they will dance on my grave when I'm gone. And so for Christine, I'll dance on yours forever. Love you so much. Hugs and kisses. Is there anyone else?
My name is Ken Kersey. I have had the honor of serving with Christine for the last 3 years with Friends of the Children of Haiti. I have served with her all 5 trips that she was there. We've heard from friends, family, and colleagues, and I feel like she was all 3 of those to me. She became a friend very quickly. You learn to know and love each other very quickly when you're put together in a situation where you are together for 12 days, living with other people. She was a colleague, a co-servant to the children of Haiti, and she became a very close friend. We will miss her terribly. There will be an empty bunk in her honor on this trip next week. I do have to tell you that it's already been mentioned, her sense of humor, very subtle. It took a long time for me to see the humor in Christine. But last May, we always have an orientation meeting when we first arrive, and we all tell where we're from, what we do, and our role in Haiti. And she had never said this before, but a year ago, she listed off all of her scientific accomplishments. And she ended the statement by saying, and here I do laundry. And I was so happy to see the slide of Christine hanging laundry outside. That's how we dry the laundry in Haiti. But she was just a wonderful woman. I didn't know that she was planning to pursue nursing so that she could do more. I don't know how she could do more. She was amazing. She caught on to the dossier process, which is the medical records of the Haitian people, very quickly. In fact, I was very surprised at the end of the 2 weeks how well she knew the whole process from beginning to end. I had not worked with anyone before her that had caught on so quickly. Now I understand why. She devoted herself and did whatever she could to learn and to do. We serve 22 to 2,400 patients every trip in Haiti. Christine was there 5 times. I figure she has impacted over 10,000 people in Haiti. And she truly is a friend of the children of Haiti.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who has shared. I would like to invite up members of the Ethical Society Chorus. As you heard, Pete Seeger was a favorite of Christine's. I'm sure that many of you know the song, Turn, 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 and if you would like to, you can feel free to join the chorus for the refrain of that song. I was thinking Christine first came to the Ethical Society with Frank so that Amanda could go through our coming of age program. And this coming Sunday, a new coming of age class will be giving their speeches and transitioning to our youth group. And Amanda is now a strong and independent woman and a scientist in her own right. So the planet does turn and life continues on. Thank you. We will now have a moment of silence for meditation or prayer or reflection so that each of you can remember and honor Christine in your own way. Thank you. My closing words are from another song by Pete Seeger and reflect Christine's love of the earth, love of the cosmos, and love of people. To my old brown earth, and to my old blue sky, I'll now give these last few molecules of I. Guard well our human chain. Watch well you keep it strong as long as sun will shine. And this our home keep pure and sweet and green. For now I'm yours, and you are also mine. We are now the living memories of Christine, and as such we possess the greatest gift that one person can give to another. It is within our hearts and minds that her spirit will endure. And as the words in your program remind us, you can trust a human being with grief. Walk fearlessly into the house of mourning, for grief is just love, squaring up to its oldest enemy. And after all these mortal human years, love is up to the challenge. We will always remember Christine and be inspired by her example. Please join the family downstairs after this service for a reception, which will include the Floss family tradition of hollandaise sauce, which Christine always made apparently in giant quantities for family gatherings. And thank you to the volunteers who made it for today. There's also a guest book to sign in the foyer. Thank you very much for your presence here today.